10 beat-em-ups heading to Switch and Switch 2, and most of them flew completely under your radar. We're kicking off with a game that wants to turn a gunfight into a dance routine. Spine is a cinematic action game built around what its studio calls Gun Fu, a blend of close-quarters melee and shooting where one move flows straight into the next. You play Redline, a street artist who gets fitted with a sentient combat implant named Spine, and the two of them go to war with an AI regime to pull her kidnapped brother out of a corporation's hands. The world is your classic cyberpunk setup, gleaming towers up top and rotting alleyways underneath. And one neat hook is a hardcore mode that lets you keep cosmetic bits like your sunglasses as long as you finish without taking a hit. It's made by Neki, the studio behind the mobile Shadow Fight, and this is their first real leap onto consoles and PC. Here's where I pump the brakes though. The game's already been rebooted from scratch once, the release slipped out of last year, there's still no firm date, and the visuals look demanding enough that the real question is whether Switch 2 can actually run this without dropping to a slideshow in handheld. If there's a clear heavyweight on this list, it's Absolum. It comes from the same crew that gave us Streets of Rage 4, the folks at Dotemu and Guard Crush working with Supamonks, and this is their first fully original world rather than a revival. The formula: take a classic side-scrolling brawler and cross it with a roguelike. You fight as one of 4 rebels in the fantasy land of Talam, cracked open by a magical catastrophe, and every death sends you back to the start of a run a little stronger than before. The hand-drawn animation is gorgeous and the combat has real bite, exactly the way I like it. One thing Nintendo owners should know, the game already came out on the original Switch last autumn, and what's ahead is the Switch 2 version with higher resolution, and nicely, a proper cartridge instead of a game key card. If you already own it on the old Switch, the upgrade is free and your saves carry over, so nobody pays twice. Next up is a surprise nobody exactly asked for, though on paper it makes a weird kind of sense. The Walking Dead. Streets of Survival drops AMC's show into an old-school pixel beat-em-up. The campaign retells the all-out war arc, the one where Rick's group goes head-to-head with Negan and his saviors, and you play the familiar trio, Rick with his magnum, Michonne with her katana, and Daryl with his crossbow, cutting through crowds of walkers across places you'll recognize like Alexandria and Hilltop. The bosses lean into fan service too, from special walkers all the way up to Negan himself. Now for the bad news, and there's more than one bit of it. Developer Otaclick previously made The Karate Kid, Street Rumble, which landed pretty coldly, so there isn't much goodwill banked here. The game is billed as single player only, which is a strange call for a genre that lives and dies on co-op. Fallen City Brawl, on the other hand, is pure, undiluted nostalgia for the arcade beat-em-ups of the 80s and 90s. Big sprites, hand-painted city streets, and a gang of 4 fighters, plus a hulking wolf that's tagged along, taking their town back from the local crime scene. The combat runs deeper than it first looks, with combos, counters, grapples, air throws, parries, and screen-clearing supers it calls Riot. It's already on PC, and it reaches Switch closer to the fall, arriving with physical editions right away, up to a collector's set with the soundtrack on disc and a keychain. Daniel Lindholm did the music, by the way. But let's be honest, 7 stages and 4 characters is on the modest side. You'll clear it in an evening, and the whole question is whether the game brings anything of its own on top of a heartfelt Golden Axe and Streets of Rage tribute, or just stays a solid but derivative hello from the past. Then comes a sequel that clearly wants to punch above its weight, Mayhem Brawler. 2. Best of both worlds is that rare thing. A classic brawler trying to graft a roguelike RPG progression and a branching, choice-driven story onto itself all at once. The gimmick is jumping between two timelines 20 years apart, so the same events get told from different angles, with the legendary Stronghold Officer Stellar on one side and the returning She-Wolf, now running for mayor, on the other. The art is done in a frame-by-frame animated comic style, and co-op runs up to 4. It all sounds ambitious, and that's exactly where my worry sits. The first game was decent, but not remarkable, and this sequel has been pushed back more than once, originally aiming as far back as 2024. Where the last game keeps to city streets, Blades and Battles heads into full fantasy. It's a beat-em-up about a young, still barbarian Arthur, that king from the legends, pitched as a modern take on the classic Golden Axe, with swords, magic, and left-to-right carnage. There are two playable heroes, Arthur and Lancelot, each with their own moves and their own way of swinging a blade, plus cinematic beats promised between fights. It's made by QUByte Interactive, and here's where I'd ease off the throttle. Now, for something completely different in mood. Full Steam. Fluffy X Machina is a roguelike brawler about adorable little critters piloting combat mechs in a diesel punk world that's been taken over by an evil corporation, Croc Incorporated. The core mechanic is baked right into its personality. You can fight as a tiny fuzzy critter or call in a giant mech and wreck everything from inside it, swapping on the fly. The devs describe it as a mix of Castle Crashers, Titanfall, and Super Mario 3D World. There's 4-player co-op, and even a PvP mode in the spirit of Super Smash Bros. The most interesting part is the team. Bouncy Brain was put together by ex-animators who worked on Kung Fu Panda, the Minions, and the Mario movie, so the game looks like a big Hollywood cartoon with a cheekier streak. What nags at me is the other side of it. '80s kids, this one's for you. He-Man and the Masters of the Universe Dragon Pearl of Destruction is a 2D arcade brawler based on the cult cartoon, where Skeletor and Evil Lyn dig up the ancient Dragon Pearl of Destruction and set out to drown Eternia in darkness, leaving He-Man, Teela, and Man-at-Arms to stop them. 12 stages, chunky pixel sprites, big magical supers, and couch co-op. A nice touch for longtime fans. She-Ra is playable for the first time. It's made by Bitmap Bureau, the same people behind the excellent Terminator 2 D No Fate, so there's no doubting their knack for building sturdy retro brawlers. What does worry me is that the game got delayed literally 2 weeks before launch, slipping from late April into summer. Unlike most of this list, you don't have to wait for this one, it came out this spring. Scott Pilgrim EX is a new beat-em-up set in the Scott Pilgrim universe, and honestly, the team behind it is a dream lineup. Tribute Games handled development, the same studio behind Shredder's Revenge and Marvel Cosmic Invasion. Paul Robertson did the art. Comic creator Brian Lee O'Malley had a hand in the script, and Anna Mineguchi wrote the music, the same crew that scored the legendary game based on the film. It's a classic brawler with that signature pixel style and the whole hipster music Toronto vibe intact. Really, it's a treat for anyone who loves both the genre and the source material. With a pedigree like that, the expectations run high, and if Tribute's arcade brawlers are your thing, skipping this would be a mistake. Closing out the list is another one you can already buy, Rotwood from Cly, the studio everyone knows from Don't Starve. It's a 2.5D brawler with a roguelike backbone. You and your friends fend off waves of forest creatures, upgrade your gear between runs, and head back into the woods for another go. Clay has that signature look and a reputation for making co-op games with real staying power, so the foundation is solid, and these things always shine brightest in a group. Two things to keep in mind though. First, it's a roguelike, so brace for repeated levels and grind, which isn't everyone's cup of tea. Second, on Nintendo, the game landed on Switch 2 only, so original Switch owners are out of luck. And for what it's worth, it spent a couple of years in early access on PC before it ever reached consoles.